The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor, with 68% of his songs.
They're what?
The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor.
You'll say that again?
The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor.
Yo. The spirit of Kendrick Lamar is like to this day. Yo, right here. Right here in the small box. All right, so Drake made the same song for 20 years. I mean, I don't know about 20 years. I can definitely say at least like maybe 10 years or at least 9 or 8 years. But either way you put it, his music has definitely sound the same since Scorpion. When you get into Certified Lover Boy, a lot of his songs definitely sounds familiar. And if I'm going to be honest, that's where my real disappointment is, because I expect something new from this artist. You're the hit maker. For a hit to work, it's required for you to create something new. But like most of your hits are like pop hits, bro. If we're gonna keep it tall, like looking at your number ones, like you have a lot of pop hits, but in terms of rap, brother, you're kind of struggling on that subject. Not saying you can't rap, because you can definitely read. So if you can read, you can rap. But my point is that I expect better, especially for someone that lives in Toronto. Like I have to sit there and be like, bro, I expect more from you. But if it's really coming to like 20 years, bro, that's kind of crazy if I'm gonna be honest. So let's not waste no more time. Look, y'all know how we start this around here. Y'all know how we do things. So let's go ahead and make it happen, all right? Yo, you, right here in the small box, right here in the small box. Welcome back to Flex Mob Reactions, only on the Flex Mob Network. I'm Flex, welcome back to the channel. I'm not familiar with this dude, so his name is Music by Maddie, if I'm saying his name right. I mean, them ghosts really have put in work over the years, but now I question they work. But all I'm saying is, like, in terms of like the creativity that I see in this city, it's not really represented through this individual. Now, in terms of rollout, I am impressed with some parts of it for the Iceman project, but there's a lot of it that really falls flat. Okay, when it comes to the money spent, that's where the disappointment lies as well, because you made too many mistakes. At this height of your career, knowing that your opponent is not making the mistakes and you're making mistakes, I have to question that. You know, I'm going to try my best to not really talk down, but more like talk life into this individual. I'm going to try my best, but don't be surprised if I go off the rails. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the vibe. You tapped in with your favorite Canadian reaction channel and network. Let's go ahead and get started. Don't forget to hit that hype button when this video drops, all right? I greatly appreciate it. With that being said,
one of these Drake songs came out in 2009, and the other came out last month.
They rigging the game because you fighting the biggest artist. They trying to have me stuck in this position like rigor mortis.
Only lose when you fight back. Black diamond bracelets showing you the basics. I can't live and hold the camera. Someone gotta take this.
Those are 17 years apart, and hearing
What?
that made me wonder, has Drake been making this same song for 20 years? To answer that question, I analyzed every one of the 481 tracks he's ever released. I went over the beat, the pitch, the frequencies, the lyrics, and a whole lot more, all to find out the elements that make Drake, Drake. I will tell you which clip is which just at the very end. But where do you even start with somebody who's released 481 songs? Well, my first thought was the part that's the hardest to fake: his voice. Biggest parts in my mind that separates Drake from other rappers is how often he sings. So I analyzed all of his songs, but it turns out that this number is hard to quantify. I first separated all of the vocals from his songs so I could isolate his voice. Then I ran them through an algorithm that predicted the likelihood that he was singing based off of some things like how long he held out notes, how fast he changed pitch, and how often he was actually saying syllables. Across his entire catalog, his sing-to-rap ratio was about 25%. Or in other words, a quarter of the time he's singing and 3/4 of the time he's rapping.
Shakiness, man, I don't have no time for that. My city
Sounds easy enough, but here's the problem. Drake tends to do both a lot. It's like he rap sings.
Stone, baby, that ain't gon' cut it. Scammers and them drug dealers flex on a budget. I trick on you like I'm Detroit thuggin'.
And then that paired with heavy autotune across a lot of his voice made my algorithm overall not that accurate when it came to predicting his singing versus rapping. But even though my algorithm wasn't perfect, I was still just more interested in how he's evolved over time. If he really was releasing the same songs every album, this number would stay the same regardless of the inaccuracies that it has on individual songs. And sure enough, the trend held. Across his entire 20-year career, Drake's sing-to-rap ratio stayed between 20% and 30%. But that can't be the...
No, go back to that. Go back to that. Listen, this right here, this surprises me low-key, but this right here, yeah. Nah, this is accurate as F. Okay, this time period from when I was in grade 10 to grade 12. Oh my God. And here's another thing about Drake's voice that's actually very interesting, if I'm going to be honest. So, we already know Drake is pretty like, with his voice, his singing voice is pretty like mono. It's not like it can fluctuate in any kind of way. Like, he doesn't really sing high or he doesn't really sing low. It's like, it's just like constant in a sense, right? And it's so funny how Drake's voice is constant because, like, when you think about the average individual, the average consumer, the average listener, they actually have something similar going on. Of course, depending on if it sounds good or not, that's a question. But the fact that it's like everybody can sing at that level, like the reason why I'm saying is that the relatability, it goes pretty deep. Pause. Okay, that's the part that's interesting because they made sure to make every part of this individual named Drake to be relatable as possible to as many people as possible. And it works. I ain't gonna lie. The marketing worked. The character that you guys have developed has really worked. So shout out to UMG. Y'all made it work around here because at this point, this is when the rap journey started. From like 2013 going up, the rap journey, dear God almighty. But yeah, let's keep going.
To rap ratio stayed between 20%
that was a mighty
30%.
pause.
But that can't be the only thing that stayed the same. Copying the amount someone sings to raps will not make you a Drake song. So I looked at the next thing that made the most sense, where Drake sings. Drake tends to keep things natural for his voice pitch. In fact, 55% of his songs are limited to 1 octave vocal range or less. That's not that much vocal range. By the way, all of the data that I'm covering can be found at this URL below if you want to take a deeper dive for yourself.
Oh, wow.
This lack of vocal range really lends itself well to Drake's overall vibe and style. It's not trying too hard. It's a bit nonchalant. And I think that is just his overall vibe as an artist. And you can see that vibe exemplified more on his median pitch across all songs, which is F#3. F#3 is a little bit higher than what I'm speaking right now, but it is significantly lower than you would have if you're singing, which kind of plays into that sing rap thing that I was talking about before. His voice being in 1 octave makes a lot of sense. He's a rapper. He's not going to be shooting for any crazy notes with his voice. In order to find out if he really was making the same song, I had to look somewhere different. So I figured the reason some of these songs were sounding similar wasn't because of his voice, but maybe instead because of the instrumentals underneath it. If anything was going to change over 20 years, it had to be the beats. So that's where I went next.
That's pretty much the
only
only
obvious
thing that
place to
changed.
start with the instrumentals was the beat itself, the tempo, the key, and the song length. Here's the distribution of tempo across all of his songs, and keep in mind that anything below 80 got framed as twice as fast. The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor, with 68% of his songs.
They're what?
The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor.
You'll say that again?
Framed as twice as fast. The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor.
Yo, yo, nah, bro, nah, nah, bro. Yo, that is crazy. Yo, you literally got Kendrick Lamar. This literally the spirit of Kendrick Lamar is like to this day. is crazy. Oh my God. Yo, that is so funny.
As twice as fast. The majority of the beats in his catalog are minor, with 68% of his songs being minor. And maybe the most interesting finding I pulled from this was that the median song length was 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Over time, this median song length didn't change across eras. But honestly, you really can't make a song off of the length of a song, the key of a song, and the tempo of a song itself. But there had to be more about these beats that explained why those first two at the beginning sounded so similar. If those basic song numbers couldn't tell me more about what Drake makes, then maybe the producers behind them could. In his 20-year career, the majority of Drake's songs come from a handful of producers. The producer he's used most is called Noah 40 Shabib, who's produced 133 of his 481 tracks. That's around a third of his entire catalog. That's followed by the next producer, Boy Wonder, who's produced 76 tracks for Drake. And if you highlight some of the beats that they've worked on with Drake, you can actually hear some of the individual differences between the producers themselves.
Used to work at Treasures, or further back than that, before I had the Houston leverage. When I got Summer and Michael. Best I ever had, best I ever had, best I ever had, best I ever had.
Those songs sound slightly different, but what they're both doing is they have a heavy focus on the low end. Across all of Drake's beats, the low end is about 13 dBs heavier than the top end itself. In the majority of the songs, the vocal is the only bright thing. Here's what some of that dark end focus sounds like.
I've been drinking so much that I'ma call you.
As a pro producer, to me, those beats are defined by one thing: filters. Filters are tools that you can use to only solo the high frequencies or the low frequencies of a beat. And in this case, on Drake's beats, a lot of the high end is filtered
Have time
out.
for the waste man jokes. Personal thing if I'm getting up close.
This does a couple of things. One, it leaves a lot of room for the vocal to live. The vocal becomes a lot easier to hear because there's nothing masking it in the mix. But it's one thing to intuitively know that from my work as a producer, but it's another thing for the data to actually back it up. So to help with that, I used an analysis to help answer that question. To help show this preference for filters, I went across every single song section that Drake has made. When you transition between sections, oftentimes you have some sort of element that comes in. For example, on the chorus, you might add in more instruments to give more energy. Or maybe right beforehand, you drop out the bass so that when it comes in on the chorus, it feels that much more impactful. Probably the most famous transition is a drop itself, which is a staple in EDM music. Sometimes before a chorus or a hook, they'll drop out every instrument completely so that when it does hit, it's that much more meaningful. But one alternative to the drop is just to use those filters I was talking about earlier. You can squish that frequency spectrum down with a filter and then open it up for a similar type effect.
So different around me, 'cause you're a good girl and you know it.
So I went through every
It's not
single
even him
song
singing.
section in every Drake song to see how often he's using a filter type transition versus a drop type transition. And what I found was kind of surprising. The filter transitions happened
What's good, Connor?
4.5 times more often than drops themselves. But what's even crazier over time is that that ratio really hasn't changed for 20 years. It stayed between 3.25 and 5.16 times the amount of drops. So the voice stayed consistent, the beats stayed consistent, and honestly, I'm starting to get a little weirded out. So I went to the part that I thought had to be different: the lyrics.
Hell no, hey. Yo, I hate to break it to you, gang. Even I know the lyrics are the same, bro. Like, that is crazy. Yo, nah, this analysis is dangerous. Where's the creativity? Well, okay, to be fair, the creativity is within the range that he keeps himself in, but it's getting to a point where you're burning yourself out and even your fans are burnt out. So there has to be a big change to happen. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but all I'm saying is that something got to change.
The lyrics are the most human part of a song. Drake, when he was 19, has to be talking about different things than when he's 39. Right, so I pulled every single word that he's ever rapped and went looking. The first place I checked was his top 20 most common words across the eras. This is not including extremely common words like the or and. Interestingly enough, between 06 and 09 and
Hold on a second. Sounds about right. Bro, that's so good. How did you find it? Like, how do you analyze it at this level? Hold on, how do you analyze it at this level? First of all, I'm for 20 years damn near is crazy. It's crazy. What the heck? Oh my God. Yeah, you couldn't let go of them niggas, I tell you that, bruh. No wonder friggin', oh, maybe you did in this year, but yo, this is crazy. This is damn. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I'm actually amazed. Like, this is wild.
eras. This is not including extremely common words like the or and. Interestingly enough, between 06 and 09 and 23 and 26, the top 20 words had a 45% overlap.
Wow.
Words like I'm, it's, baby, girl, shit, one, they came up again and again. Now, I will absolutely admit that these are pretty common words for a lot of songs, not just Drake's. And knowing that, I had to continue my search. To go deeper, I analyzed the themes of each individual lyrics themselves. I did so by how often he was using certain words for every 1,000 words that he rapped. And once again, the data was showing that the lyrics he used didn't really change between when he started and now. The most dominant theme being talking about women and love, with the next one being haters and doubt, followed by success and fame. And
this is, okay, hold on. This right here, this column right here was what I was explaining to y'all in my past videos. I remember when we first heard about him talking about haters, the best song that I can use for that is Stay Scheming with Rick Ross. When he first linked with Rick Ross and they only had him on like the chorus, all he talked about was haters. And yo, coming to Iceman to this day, and you still talking about haters, bro. Like, you consistently talk about them. I don't know why. This is what I'm talking, bro. You gotta make some change. You gotta make some changes. That's the only way this thing is gonna work for you, bro. I'm telling you, like, this is actually crazy. Of course, women, love, like, that's gonna stretch all pause. But that's gonna be in each time period. Success, that was of course later on, so that makes sense. OVO, okay, whatever. But man, bro, this is wild.
Finally talking about his crew. It's obvious that the themes that he's talking about are pretty consistent across all of the songs that he's ever made. But in my opinion, this wasn't representative of the most important part of any song, the chorus or the hook. So I pulled them up. And the first thing that I noticed is that almost a quarter of his songs have no chorus at all. 115 of 481 songs never say the chorus a single time. It's just him rapping, and then the song ends.
Heavy airplay all day. With no chorus, we keep it thorough, nigga. Rap like this for all of my furrow niggas.
But to me, those feel more like Drake deep cuts rather than songs that the majority of people know. His biggest songs all are very hook and chorus forward. So what's in them? And the first obvious thing is they're significantly shorter than their verse counterparts. His verses average about 150 words, whereas choruses average about a third less at 50. That makes sense. It is immensely harder to chant a full paragraph than it is a phrase. But inside that hook, there is something that he's using to get it stuck in your head. And that is about 20% of the time, he's repeating the first word of the chorus over again. About 20% of his choruses start with the same exact words. Started from the Bottom being a great example.
That's so crazy, because this point right here speaks to like the mental conditioning and to mental training that we've talked about on numerous videos, even on the consumer group chat. That's actually so wild to me. So this is like looking at the actual process of the conditioning starting with the chorus. That's wild to me.
Nigga started from the bottom, now we here.
It's the repetition that helps it stick.
Don't kill me,
That's how a
Shanice.
phrase gets stuck in your head. And he's been using that percentage of repetition, once again, across his entire career. But here's the thing, this is just a normal chorus. Most choruses repeat something on some level so that they are catchier. Which led me to think, what are the things that Drake's doing that most songs definitely aren't? Maybe analyzing those trends would show me some better data on if he's actually made the same song for 20 years. And there was one rule that Drake consistently breaks that I think is pretty creative and cool. Traditional songwriting advice would tell you to title your song whatever the catchiest part of your hook is. Hotline Bling being a great example.
And I know when that hotline bling, it can only mean one thing.
It's the catchiest part of the song, people remember it, and then people can type it in because they remember the title and they could sing it in their heads. But
That's actually so crazy. Because when you sit here and you think about some of the choruses from his older tracks, I actually do remember people used to chant those choruses a lot. I just never realized the science behind this shit. First of all, what's good, Anthony? Flex, think about the chorus of God's Plan, a real quick moment considering the repetition of the chorus. That's another good point. Like, honestly, when you look at the chorus for God's Plan, like, first of all, it's really short. But then it's barely saying anything. And then, of course, you have that one part of God's Plan where it's literally stuck in everybody's head. It's even stuck in my head. How'd it go again? She said that she loved me. How'd it go? She said, did she love me? I told her only partly. I only love my bed and my mom. I'm sorry. Bruh. Like, I vaguely
majority
remember
of time, Drake doesn't do this. 53% of the songs he's ever released never say the title in their lyrics a single time. There is 686 words in the song.
Yeah, there you
Fear,
go, Connor.
And it never says fear one time. My favorite song, Passion Fruit, never says passion fruit the entire time. It does say passionate, but that's different.
Passionate from miles away. Passive with the things
All right,
you
this song is
say.
crazy.
Data has been showing so far that there's a lot of similarities that Drake has had across his entire career. Same voice, same beats, even a lot of the same lyrics. The more I started uncovering from this data, the more I realized that the biggest part of Drake's sound probably doesn't come from Drake. And that's because Drake isn't just one person. Yes, he is one person, but I'm saying the sound of Drake isn't just one person. 20 years ago, the average Drake song had 2 songwriters. Today, that number has been...
Because I'm sitting here trying to figure out, where are you going with this? Okay. I'm here. Let's go.
Average Drake song had 2 songwriters. Today, that number has ballooned to 8. And even with all...
Wow. And you know what? In this year, 2018, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense in this year alone. I'm not gonna lie. Like this year with the albums that came out at that time, what was it? Scorpion came out around that time, no? Passion Fruit was a part of More Life. That was 2017. When did Scorpion come out again? 2019? Was it 2018 or 2019? But either way, whatever project came out at that time, that was the one. That was the one for everybody. That's
all those people, the data still struggles to differentiate between a song written by 2 in 2009
That's a good point, Anthony.
and a full committee in 2026. And it's not just the songwriters. The producers he used also tripled per song. It started off as 1.5 per song, and now, on average, there are 4 producers working on every Drake track. His entire catalog in 2009 used about...
You know what? That the producers explains everything. It literally explains everything because everybody keeps saying this is the era of Aubrey that they can 100% tolerate, which has a lower amount of producers. But Certified Lover Boy coming up, bro, there's too many people on one. on one project, bruh. All you need is at least 1 or 2 max. That's it. Almost 5 producers. This right here is where a lot of people started to exit. Of course, a lot of people probably started exiting around here with views or nothing was the same. But this is where a lot of people were starting to leave. Me, when I left, was around 2018. This is when I dipped. This is almost 5. Bro, what?
About 40 producers. In the last 4 years alone, he's used 188. That's nearly 5 times more the amount of people working on the songs. But the songs, the feelings, and the Drake vibe was all still there. This made me think that there's gotta be some sort of framework that they're all following, even unconsciously, as they make this music. This same trend has been happening with his newest releases. He just dropped 3 albums in one night: Iceman, Maid of Honor, and
before we even continue, it's just like, and I agree with what Anthony's saying, so let me just read it real quick. He's a trend chaser, so he wants the hottest producer on his stuff. Remember how he got a West Coast producer for Iceman? Remember how that was the hot and cold? Yeah. And then here come Ron. That was when I left at Views, valid. But yeah, no. The dangers that comes with trend chasing, you can really see it through Aubrey when you sit and think about it. I'm not worried about the numbers because as of today, as of 2026, we cannot trust those numbers anymore, especially when those numbers come from Spotify, with all the information that we have received on this channel. So I cannot trust those numbers anymore. I really do need to have like physical sales numbers. That's how I'm going to determine if you're really hot or not. Right? Because if you're nice, then people would want to buy your physical shit. But if not, and they only want the digital, I question that heavy now. I don't rely on that information anymore. With the idea that comes with chasing a trend, that's actually very dangerous, because a lot of the time when you're chasing a trend, you're either right there with it or you're late. So if you want to continue a wave of something that happened like a couple months ago or half a year ago, you might be too late. But because this name is so relatable, that kind of breaks that formula and continues the chain. You know what I'm saying? It's the relatability that comes with Aubrey that makes things kind of like, and trends I'm talking, extend in a sense, which is why you kind of see him as the face of some trends, even though someone else started the trend from like months ago. That's so crazy.
Habibi. 3 full projects, and a lot of them use the same data trends that I pointed out before. The factory keeps churning. All this data shows that I'm not just looking at Drake as a person, I'm looking at an entire system. A recipe so tightly defined that even 8 songwriters, 4 producers, and 3 albums in one night results in the same type of song. And once you realize something's a recipe, you start wondering if you could cook it. And I'm a bit of a chef myself. So I decided to test out the framework that I'd come up with. Put down all of the goals and the data that I'd collected about his voice and his beats, and I was off to the races and to make something that feels like Drake. We'll see how this goes. I started with the beat first, filtered and heavy in the low end. I used a mid-tempo and a minor key. Then I added the voice. I tried to make it nonchalant, non-reaching, with a median note of F sharp 3. Then I added the lyrics. I focused on talking about women. I added a catchy chorus line, and I repeated the chorus multiple times. And after all that, there was one cherry on top that I used, the bow on the present I used to really tie things together. To make sure that this was as representative of the framework itself, I didn't want to distract you with my voice. So what I did is I recorded my voice and then used AI to change it into Drake's.
Drake.
And then once I had Drake's voice, I plopped it into a free tool I built that will show me its EQ curve compared to all of Drake's EQ curves to help me mix it. I continued tweaking, and after a little while, here's what I came up with.
No way.
I was seeing double of the whole place. I got a little
Yeah, it's raps. It's raps. It's raps. If some dude on YouTube can crack the code to this, yeah, it's done. Yeah, it's GG's, bro. It's GG. You did your thing, bro. You did your thing. But if you don't change the system, god damn it, I don't know what's gonna happen to the future that you got. You got another 35 years before you get your master's back. Bro, what? What? Are you serious? Yo, hold on, let me see it.
I continued tweaking, and after a little while, here's what I came up with.
I was seeing double up the whole place. I got a little tipsy at the showcase. She asked me, do I love her? I say, no way, no way. You can hit a shot with no aim. I was seeing double up the whole place. Popped another bottle of the rosé. She asked me, do I love her? I say, no way, no way. You can hit a shot with no aim, no aim.
For the sake of time, I'm only going to play you the chorus. And that's not because I only wrote a chorus. But it's not too bad, right? It's definitely Drake-ish. But honestly, there's just something about it that feels a little off. Part of me feels like this song is Kroger brand Drake. Listen to it with one of his songs back to back.
I say, no way, you can hit a shot with no aim. I want that Bugatti just to hurt. I ain't rock my jury, that's on purpose.
Maybe it's because I used an AI voice. Or maybe the lyrics just aren't as good. Or maybe the mixing itself just isn't quite as polished. After all, I am just one guy who did this in about 2 hours, not an entire team of 13 people with a giant budget and years to prep. But did making this beat actually answer the question? The demo proves that you can follow all the data and use all of these guide points that I've made and still make something mediocre. There's something that a recipe like this just can't account for, like every micro decision that Drake and his team makes. How to phrase the line, where to land the kick, what to say for the chorus. That's actually where a Drake song lives. And as much as I can get the numbers to look similar, I can't be him. I also wasn't going to go this whole video and pretend that nothing changed over 20 years because yes, there were some things. His voice actually got lower by about 3 semitones. Started with a median around G sharp 3 and then dropped to around E3. Him just getting more mature, maybe just smoking more weed. His tempos also started creeping higher and higher from when he started by about 30 beats per minute. Just resulting in
I'm not gonna sit here and deny the changes. There's definitely a lot of changes that's happened over the years. You can't say his music sounds the same. Honestly, you can't really say that for any artist at all. Not even Chris. And that's one thing that a lot of people be saying for Chris Brown. All his music sound the same. He was working with DJ Mustard. Of course, it was gonna sound the same. What do you want him to do? That's crazy. But anyway, that's wild to me.
Higher and higher from when he started by about 30 beats per minute, just resulting in a little bit faster delivery and more mid-tempo songs. And probably my favorite thing that happened that changed is he stopped name-dropping money. He cut his money references nearly in half from when he started, most likely because he actually became rich. But even though some of these small things did change over time, the core of the songs and the thing that makes Drake Drake definitely didn't. Now let's take a look back at the first 2 clips that I showed you at the beginning of the video. The first was Say What's Real from 2009. The second was Make Them Remember from last month. Did you get it right? Don't worry if you didn't, because the data couldn't tell them apart either. And the reason is because Drake's released the same song for 20 years. Or at least songs with the same recipe. But remember, just because you have a recipe doesn't mean you can cook like Drake.
Oh, Bad Bunny is next. Oh, no. I might have to subscribe to dude, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yo, notification bell on and everything, bro. I'm subscribing to dude, bro. Yo, I didn't know, I knew you can always analyze the data, but not to that level. He earned that subscription. Facts. That is a fact. I'm actually sitting here impressed. Because, to break it down to, a minute detail or minute number that you can present to the world, that's different. So, wow. That's all I got to say. What? I'm expecting dude to have way more than just 55,000 subscribers. He needs at least, 200,000. Because, this right here, this is crazy. This is crazy, bro. And this came out, what, 2 weeks ago? Nah, more people need to watch this. More people need to watch this. In fact, I want to see what other artists he's going to do. He said he was going to do Bad Bunny next. Like, even though it was pixelated, I know that's Bad Bunny right there. So I'm not even worried about that. I don't think he could do Kendrick, though. Because to analyze Kendrick raps, gang, I ain't going to lie to you. That's not going to work. I feel like your program is going to, like, crash. You know, I think your program is going to crash if you analyze Kendrick. Because when you see that nigga rap... boy, like, nah. Shout out to Maddie. This was actually crazy. This was actually really crazy, and I enjoyed it. And like, you know what? Like, the fact that the things that I've said in the past actually has data that is presented that I can use for future conversations and future references. That's quite amazing. If I'm going to be honest, that's really quite amazing. So, yeah, you definitely earned that subscription. And I'm going to make sure that I tap in with the content often. Because who knows who's going to be next. But I'm definitely here for it. Shout out to everybody that was sending me the link to this for sure. You have to do Kendrick per album basis. Yeah, that's facts. Because if you do Kendrick all together, your program's going to crash, bro. like even you gotta do Kendrick during the beef. Like, that's gotta be like its separate thing. Cause that's the only way. Cause like if you add that with everything else, your program's like, I cannot even do this, my nigga. Oh man, this was phenomenal work. So that's like, I actually gotta give you a round of applause because that was actually impressive. That was actually very impressive. So shoot, shout out to everybody that was sending me the link for this one. Y'all sent me the right link for today, because I promise you there's nothing today. There's absolutely nothing today to look at. So I appreciate y'all for this one for sure. Man, at this point, all I gotta say is like, story developing? I don't know.